Can you talk about Chris, the 6'5" basketball whiz from Brazil, who comes up to you after the Susskind show?
Well, you just told me. When I was younger, which was forever, especially when I was at Fortune, that my lunchtime, I didn't have lunch, I went to the gym, the Y on 23rd Street, and basketball was my great retreat. Unlike all the stereotypes about gay people, I've always been a sports fan. The Yankees are going on at 8 o'clock tonight, and there's a debate too. But I played basketball was my great relaxation, and I would go to the gym. And after the Susskind program, you know, the locker room mentality, that's ultimate macho. And I was concerned after the Susskind show, what would happen when I went to the Y to play basketball the next day. So I went upstairs, it was on 23rd Street, I went up to the basketball court, and you have to, there was a game going on, and you have to sign up to be next. And one guy comes over and says, "Saw you on TV." And that was it. Then I was called, and I played, and the best player on the court was the 6'5" Brazilian basketball whiz. And he was on my team, and then when the game was over, he came over, put his arm around me, and said in a very loud voice so everybody could hear him, "Thank you for last night being on television. You made it easier for all of us." And he was coming out there, which shocked me and everybody on the court, and he was telling me that I helped made room for him, and that was very, very powerful.
Well, somebody who also showed great courage was Charlie Cochran of the New York Police Department.
Yeah. I'm going to tell that story?
Yes.
You won't have to buy the book now. There's a bar called Julius's. Some of you know it over there, 10th Street. And I would go there after meetings. And, you know, they used to say, I remember this rabbi said, I object to your lifestyle. And I said, my lifestyle is I'm going to meetings all day. What part don't you like? And after meetings, a lot of us would go to Julius's and hang out. And there was this guy who was a neighbor, and we would talk all the time. His name was Charlie. And one night, some of the kids came running in, the cops came running after them, and they went out in the back door and out the front door, and the cops were chasing them. And I rose to intervene. The cops, and Charlie said, "Sit down." And he went outside and he talked with the cops and came back in. And I said, "Charlie, you're a cop, aren't you?" And he said, "Yeah, I am." He said, "I've been in the police force for about 15 years. And we got to talking a lot about it. And he said he wanted to come out. And I said, "Wow, as a New York City cop, this was about 83. And so we talked about the best way to do it. And I said, "Charlie, the best thing to do is choreograph it as a positive event. If word leaks out with rumors, you'll be, it's a problem. But if you choreograph it as a positive event." And he said, "Well, how will we do that?" And I said, "You know, at the city council hearings, they used to have city council hearings every year for 15 years. It was very simple. The bill was, the gay rights bill was, no discrimination based on sexual orientation in restaurants, housing, or employment. It wasn't a very complicated bill. It was just to add sexual orientation onto gender, race, religion. And every year, half the city council hall would be with gay people screaming, and the other half would be religious people in the PBA. It was like there was a circus, and would be one pro and one against. And so we talked to Charlie about coming out at the city council hearings. And he came to my apartment. There were about 7 or 8 activists there, briefed him on all the pros and cons of what could happen. And he said, "I can handle all of this." So at the hearing that year, about 83, I think the bill passed in 85, so it was a year, I think it was the year before, 84, when the PBA cop got up and made their anti-civil rights bill. Then they said the next speaker would be New York Police Sergeant Charlie Cochran, and all the gay people went, "Oh, they just had one and it was supposed to be every other." And Charlie Cochran got up and said, I'm Sergeant Charlie Cochran, I'm a New York Police Department Sergeant, and he read the list of all of his honors and awards, and he said, "I'm very proud of being a New York City police officer." Pinter paused as we rehearsed him. And he then said, "And I'm equally proud of being a gay man." Silence in the room, and suddenly the gay side erupted. And The bill failed that year, but we knew. I was standing in the back with Jenny Apuzzo, and we looked at each other and said, we got them now. That when Charlie came out, and suddenly it was a dent in it, and we knew that the bill would pass. And that night, the television crews all went to Charlie's precinct. Say, did you know Charlie was gay? No. What do you think? It's Charlie. The cop said, well, are you opposed to it? It's Charlie. Charlie was a good guy, and he'd been a good cop, and it didn't bother anybody. It was front page in the news in the Mirror the next day. There's one P.S. on this. About a year or two later, there was a bar in Midtown in which some drag queen got beaten up by the cops. And we started a rally to protest, and I was made marshal, which meant I was in charge of the protesters. Imagine me as a marshal in a protest in Times Square. And as we organized, there were about 100 people protesting the cop brutality. We see about 50 cops lined up across the street with the batons, and we said, oh God, this is it. And I said to the guys, relax. Who was leading the cop brigade but Charlie Cop? So I walked over and I said, Charlie, are we going to have a problem? He said, you keep your troops under control, I'll keep my troops under control. So we protested, and the cops watched us, and everybody went home. And that was Charlie.